Okay. Good evening, Chama. We're going to start from Zayin and Beis, Be'ezus Hashem, and we're going to go until Saf Tes Amud Aleph the Mishnah. Zot the Gemara, Zalfan Simon. The Zalfan is a shtevus for the following Amaram that have the story, or Tanam Amaram. Shalu Talmid as Rabbi Zakai B'merach to Yamin. What were you zeichet to live such a long life? Amr Lahem, he said to them, Yamei lo yishtanti mayim b'seich am shal tefillah. We just had the previous Gemara finished discussing different halachas of urinating in a makam of tefillah and davening in a makam of where there was someone who went to the bathroom. So he said, I never urinated in a place that I never urinated in a place that I davened, and he said this is even after. So obviously, everything that we're going to discuss here is a phenomenon of short din. No Amaram are going to say I got to live long life by following basic Shulchan Aruch. So the bunch of cases we're going to see each one what the knech was in the halacha. But over here, it was in the Daled Amos even after he waited Daled Amos. So halacha he was allowed to go to the bathroom. But he still was, we had halacha. You're after someone davens in a not in a shul, let's say on a street. You're allowed to go to the bathroom there. But he was makbar even on that. I did not make my friend a nickname. He's talking about a non-derogatory nickname because a derogatory nickname is aser is aser is aser. And I did not. Now, everyone makes kiddush hayom. So you have to see what I think he was makbar on using yayin and not chama medina. Maybe ima zakena haisali. I had an old mother. Pam achas marcha kippah shabereisha vehevi like kiddush hayom. I was so broke that she sold the hat that she used to wear and she bought kiddush for me. Tana was learned on this story. She left him 300 barrels of wine. So her schar that she got in this world was that she got tremendous ashiras for being makbar on yayin, and she had 300 barrels of wine. When Rav Zakai was nifter, he left over 3,000 barrels of wine for his children. Rav Huna have asar risa v'kai kamed Rav. Rav Huna came to Rav wearing like a belt made out of grass. Amalei, my high. Why are you wearing such a shachet quality rope, belt? Where's your regular belt? Amalei, like havali kedusha. I didn't have wine for kiddush. Mishkante lehem yanai ve'esibe kedusha. I borrowed money and gave my belt as a mashkin, so I could buy kiddush. I could buy wine for kiddush. Amalei, yehei rava the situm the sirai. You should be zeichet to be covered in silk. No, you should have so much money. You should be covered in silk. When Rabba made a wedding for his son, when Rav Huna made a wedding for his son, Rav Huna inish gutzahu hava. Rav Huna was a short person. They bring down in the sifta, they're not sure. The art school brings down, they're not sure why this was brought down. I understood it that it was just because you'll see the next part of the story that it was just easier for this to happen because of his physical attributes. Gana Apuria, he fell asleep on the bed. Asyan Bunasi v'Kalase Shalchan v'Shadia Menai Alayu. They took off their coats. And they threw it on top of him. Ad itam bisari, until he was covered in silk. Now it's obvious that the fact that they had so much money, they had such expensive clothing that his bracha was mekuyim that his kids wore, even though he himself did not dress in silk. This bracha was mekuyim through his kids. Now, it's something that bothered me for a while. I learned this Gemara previously, and I never understood. It just felt like a weird situation that he fell asleep in a public place that his daughter-in-laws were walking and getting undressed there and taking off the coats there. It didn't fit the right picture. Like imagine the Rosh Hashiva, the Gadol Adar is falling asleep in the coat room. It didn't really make sense. And it wasn't a bomb catch. I just thought about it. I learned the Gemara in Arab Psachim, Daf Kuf Aleph Amar Aleph, a while back. I was learning the sugya of Kiddush Makam Suda, and this Gemara is a source for that. And this they say a story that Rav Huna, when he made a wedding for his son Rav Huna, which is this exact situation. This is Rav Huna. Rav Huna is making a wedding for a Rabbah. Well, actually, it doesn't say Rabbah over here. It just says, yeah, it does say Rabbah. So it's the same exact wedding. No, it's a reference to the same story. And it says that his lights went out in his house and he didn't make Kiddush yet. So he made Kiddush by his sons, by the base Mishnah because the lights were there. And this comes to show you that he wouldn't eat that he wouldn't make Kiddush, that he would only make Kiddush by Neris, and he had to make Kiddush by Makam Suda. That's why he didn't make Kiddush there and eat somewhere else. That's over there. So I understood, I made a tushta in my head from that Gemara to this Gemara, that the reason why he slept by this house he was sleeping in a weird place was because his lights went out in his house and he didn't have a way of sleeping at his own house. So that's how I understand this Gemara, why he's sleeping in a random place. Okay, it gets so the Gemara ends off that he got covered in silk. Shema Rab, who gave him the bracha, heard about this, and he was upset at him. Amar, my time, Amar li kibarachticha. Why didn't you tell me v'chein lamar? You said the bracha is so powerful, and if you would have said v'chein lamar, I would also have some shefa. Fine. Dr. Marvaita, Shalu, Tamid as Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua, B'marach Yamim, Amalahem, Yamim Sisi Kapanji basic Knesset. I never made a shortcut to shul. Now again, you're not allowed to make a shortcut to shul. So why is the Maila? The answer is because in a place where the shortcut exists, predates the shul. Even though they build a shul, you're still allowed to use the shul as a kapangia. The shul cannot take away from the shortcut that they already had. So even in that case, where it's mutter, he was makbar on Kedusha Basic Knesset and he did not use it. But and not step on the heads of the holy nation, which again sounds very basic, but it means that when he walked into the Smedish, he didn't walk to the front, and that would cause everyone to stand up and move around, or he would look like he was standing on people. So he was extra makbar on cover of other people. This also I didn't do the siyas kapayim without a bracha. So over here they explain a couple of different things. Either that he was always nizar to run up on time, because if he ran up late, and he wouldn't be able to, and if a kind runs up late, which in the halach is that he has to be oika ragla before it's say. But let's say it's a big besmenish and he started walking before it's say, and he's still getting there late. He gets to the middle of the bracha. If he's not going to be able to start Yivarechecha with the rest of the kahanim, then he skips the bracha and just goes to Yivarechecha. So it says he was always nizar to be there on time. That's one way of understanding it. The other way of understanding it is another pshat that I saw was the first of all the Bir Agral learns from here that the bracha is not a mitzvah. It's not a chiyuv. You don't have to say the bracha. The Gemara he's right from this Gemara. But another pshat is that there's a psak. At least according to some shitas, you can't make the bracha if you have akpada on anyone else. So it says the bracha is not Yisrael be a hava. You have to have a hava. Sayal's you and sayal's them. So if there's any chassan in a hava from you to them or to them to you, you can't be duchen. So it shows here that he's always duchen. He's always in a good place with everybody. Fine. Show it to me that as a preda b'mayrak yam amalehem yam like many other lays medrash. No one got to the center before me. I never benched before a kain. There's a machlekes over here. Rashi learns that it's Brichas Hamazdim. Taisa seems to say that it's Brichas Atayra, and they explain it in a second. The Gemara is going to ask a question on this. How does it make sense? The Klayim weren't taken, not the Klayim, the Shleihomu. There's I forgot not the Chaz of Shek. That is from Karbanas, but there's a part of the animal that has to go to the kain on every regular shechita, every here. Those parts of the animal have to be given off every animal, and I never ate before they were time. The Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Amar Rabbi Yechon, Asal Echel Behema Shalai Hormu Matanisev, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Kol Ha'Echel Behema Shalai Hormu Matanisev, K'ilu Echel Tevalim. He compares it to Tevel that wasn't taken off Tumas Maisis, but that's Hachas going to say, and still he was makbar on it. Now the question is, what Preda was the famous Gemara that he was zeich to long life because he learned with this Talmud 400 times, and then he spaced out and he learned with him another 400 times. So the Taisus brings down, I think, or someone brings down that it must have been either before the Maisa. No, this could be that he lived already a long time before he did the story, or he didn't know yet that it was because of this, and only after he lived till 400 years old did he chap that it was from the story of the 400 times. So he answered them the fee, not knowing that he got schar from that. Fine. But he's saying that's a mile that he didn't bench in front of a kain. That he didn't bench in front of a kain. Any Talmid Chacham that allows a kain gadol even a kain gadol who's an Amaretz to bench reform. The Tamachachim is chayiv misa for giving up on his covet. Shnemar, the pasuk says, "Kol misanei I have a mace." Anyone who hates me, Hakadosh Baruch Hu saying, it's referring to the Torah Pashup Pshat, loves misa. So we're medayik. They're called out tikri misanei ella misniai. Don't masniai. Don't read it misanei those who hate me. Ella read it those who cause other people to hate me. Because if a Tamachachim is let some Amaretz go before him, then people are going to say, oh, Tam Chacham is nobody, and they're not going to be Machshav Torah. And the Gemara, Ki Ka'amar Iyu B'Shavin, it means when they were equal. So Taisa says, very simple, it can't mean Shavin Mamish, because if it's Shavin Mamish, and the halacha is that he has to let the Kohen go first. But it means that Shavin Mamish, that he's also a Shikl Tam Chacham, but he was bigger that he could have taken the covet, but he still let the Kohen go. As from Nechoni ben Nachana, B'marach the Yamim Amalen, Miyama Lenechbadati, B'Kol Yechaveri, I did not get any covered from my friend's downfall. Now we're going to see what it means. It's a very slight downfall. The Gemara is going to explain each one. But also, al mitasi kilas chaver, and I did not take the call of my friend to my bed. The batim b'mayni I was easier with my money. Loinis kabadati b'kol chaveri ki had Rav Huna dari Maria chaspe. Rav Huna was carrying a spade on his shoulder. Also, Rav Chana bar Chanilai, Rav Chana came v'kadari minen. He wanted to take it from him to be mechaber him that he should carry it instead. Amalei either gilas dari v'amasach. If you're used to carrying your own kalim in through the street dari, then you could take it. V'ilai is yakuri ana b'zilusa didach loy nichalei. I'm not asking him to be mechubed from your denigration or from your zilzal. I'm not going to allow again. So if it's not a zilzal for you because you always carry your stuff to the streets, okay, it's anachanani. But if it's pagam in your covet, I'm not going to accept. So I'm not talking about a huge pagam. The loy also matasi kilas chaveri ki had marzutu ki hava salik lepurye when he went to his bed. Ama shari lechol man detzarim. I'm Michael anyone who is mitzarimi, and we have that lashon as part of Kriyash Malamita today. Vatim Maina, you see, what does that mean? He would give the chenbini a little bit extra money. Now, I think the Maral brings down that a person should not be mevatim with his money, except for like in this case. In other words, don't be medakta on every penny. But of course, a person shouldn't be loose with his money. We have a klal tzadikim. I forget the lashon, but something that they're makbid more on their kalim than on their guf. So you see, not to be frivolous with your money. Now, this Rabbi Kiva is before he became known who he is, as you see in a second. And the servants of Rabbi Nechonia came and they started beating Rabbi Kiva because they thought that he's like shepherding him, like, why are you living so long? He was like as if he wished ill will towards Rabbi Nechonia. Silak Yesev Aresha Dedikla. He ran up a palm tree. Amalei, he yelled down from the palm tree to Rabbi Nechonia, Rebbe, Imnemer Keves Lama Nemer Echad. It says by the Carbon Talmud, I said Keves Echad Tasav Biker. So if it says Keves, I know it's one. So why do you have to say Keves Echad? Amalahu Tzurba Rabbananu Shavku. Rabbi Nechonia thought that he's a Shikhat HaMachachim, so they said, leave him alone. Leave him alone. Amalei, then when he came down, he said to him, Echad miyuchad sheba'edvei. Echad doesn't mean just one, because that we know from the word keves that it's only one, but it means a miyuchad. It's a special one. It's take the best from the flock. Miyamai, and then Amalei, he answered his previous question. Miyamai lo kibalti matanis v'lo yamadti al midaisai. I never accepted matanis, and I never tried to exact measure against somebody who hurt me. V'vatum b'mamayna hisi. Lo kibalti matanis ki hadar Rabbi Elazar ki hav mishadri. When the base Nasi sent Rabbi Elazar presents, he did not accept it. He had when they invited him to parties, he did not go. You don't like that I should live. You're not happy that I should live a long life. So why are you keeping giving me free stuff? What are you doing? Rabbi Zera, when the Bein Nasi used to send him gifts, they have a shark. He didn't accept. But when they invited him to the banquets, when he invited him to the dinner, Azel he did come. Why? Because he said, "Isyakure the misyakri be." They're being mechubed by me. It's not. I'm not taking from them. When someone goes to a dinner, and they want to honor him, obviously the yeshiva is being honored by this person. They obviously have to depend on the situation. But a big yeshiva is coming in. He's not being honored by the small yeshiva in Yehupitz. Well, you have a shakel. If you have a fine. Fine. Whoever is bevater, whoever gives in and doesn't exact measure on what's deserving, in other words, even for what he deserves. That's one of the Yudgim Amidais. The Mish Naisa Avain, the Mi Naisa Avan, who's right to be Naisa Avan? The Misha Iver al Pasha. Someone who's Iver on his own Pasha, that's who he's Zaycha to be Naisa Avan. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha b'merach Yam Amalei Katsa b'chaya. You're trying to shorten my life. You have a problem that I'm living long. Amalei Rabbi Tari v'lemed. I need to learn. Rabbi it's Tari Amalei Yamalei Nistakalti. But the most Adam Rasha, I did not look at the face of a Rasha. But tell him the most Adam Rasha. You have to know what that means. Today, people are watching movies and sports and all these things. We're all into it. It's a shikol. It sounds like it's a shikol pagam in this India. Shenamar lule pnei Yishafat Melech Yehuda ani noise im abit alecha v'im reka. I forgot I was talking here, but Elisha is talking to the King Hiram, who's one of the kings, and he went together with Yehoshaphat. They combined forces to fight Mayav. So he said, if Yehoshaphat wasn't here, I wouldn't look at you because he's a Rasha. Rabbi Lazar Aimer Einav Kayes, it makes your eyes weak. Shenem Vahik Hizak and Yitzchak Vatikana Einav Merais, and his eyes got weak from seeing. Because he looked at his son, he looked at his own son, who was a Rasha. He said, don't take the curse of a hedyot lightly. We had this Gemara earlier, but it's quoted under someone else. It's true for you, a kasus einayim, which literally means like a garment for your eyes. But al tikri kasus ala kasiyas einayim, he really cursed her, and it says it should be a covering for your eyes. So and it came out in Yitzchak Hava. So it said that curse, and plus that he looked at Esav Rasha, that was a garment. Rav Amar Mehachas Eis Pnei Rasha Light Type, to be Makabo, the face of a Rasha, is not good. When Rebbe left Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, Amalei Rebbe Recheni, give me a bracha. Amalei Hiratzain Shetagia Lechatzi Yama. You should reach half my years. In fact, Rebbe, well, Kulula, I shouldn't live your whole life. I should die early. Amalei Haba Macharecha Behema Yeru. Should your children become shepherds? In other words, if you're going to live a long life, you know, Nebuch, when the Rebbe has a Richas Yamim, the son, he sits Yosef Batel until he's like 75 years old. He doesn't become Rebbe. So over here, he wanted his kids. He said, do your thing and then pass on and let your kids also take over. Abu Bar Ihi Minyamin Bar Ihi, two brothers, they said, I'm going to get Adam Habadullah is the Kati Bakusi. I did not look at a guy. I don't know if the Kati means look. I never steered it. I never took in the face of a kusi. I did not make shutfus with a kusi. Now, Tosis points out that the Gemara in Sanhedrin says that you're not allowed to do shutfus with Goyim, because what happens is if you get into dispute with them, you're going to make them swear to their God, which is a problem of an Ibra Messiah or something like that. But over here he's talking about, again, so he's not talking about halacha. He's not saying something that he did with halacha. He's saying with Sadin that he didn't even do something and waive the rights to a shvua, which would allow you make your adin to do shutfus with a guy, but he was machmer and he didn't do it anyway. So to me, I never put fear in my house. It's more like anger. And I did not walk in front of somebody who was bigger than me. Now, again, it's not talking about mamish, because it's also to walk in front of somebody bigger than you. If you're walking with a shashiv, you can't walk ahead of him. But he meant you could mamish walk like a half a step. He took like an extra step behind him. And I did not think in Torah in Makam Tanafis. Now that might not sound such a big deal, but when it's followed up by the next halacha, the next number, you'll understand. I did not walk Dalaramas at Torah Natzlan. So for someone who's thinking every Dalaramas in Torah, to not say Torah Makam Tanafis is much more harder. So that these two things go together. But I was not happy with the call of my friend. Again, this is also not talking about a malicious type of behavior, because that's not something that he would brag about. It's talking about even he wouldn't even be happy if his friend Nebuch, let's say his parents died and he was selling off a house, so he's trying to get it away. He's trying to get it out fast. He's just took a fire sale. He wouldn't be misameach that he got a good deal. He would. It doesn't say that he didn't do the good deal, but he wouldn't be happy about it. Either by a nickname or by his surname. Either again, this is a famous short then. Doctor, the Mishnah Vaytav. Oid Amar Rabbi Yehuda, base Hakneses Shecharav, and a percentage that is destroyed. Again, not that it's a pile of rubble, but that it goes out of operations. You cannot make a hesped, and you cannot spin threads in there. Person so you cannot spread nets there to repair them. Now it's talking about any malacha, but the reason why you would use these two is because these things need a big area to work with. So those are examples of something that was shchiach, that you were looking for like a good spot to sew your nets and to spin string. So you can't do it in shul. You cannot put pears to sun dry your pears. You cannot put them on the roof. And you cannot use it as a kapandria. I will destroy your mikdashes. I think this is in the Teichah. The kedushasan af k'shehen shaymin. They are. You see that even the word kedusha, the word kedusha, it's still after it's destroyed. It's still considered kaddish, because the pasuk could have said it the other way around. The pasuk could have said as mikdashechem hishmaisi, or whatever the lesson would be. So then it would be more of a final destruction. But the destruction is happening and it's still kaddish. If grass starts growing inside, you don't cut the grass. You want people to be mitzvah about the state of the shul, that it's not operational, so you want to not clean it up and you want to let it look overgrown and unkempt. You should not do any kalas roish in shul, and we should not be noig kalas roish in shul. And the Gemara is going to discuss what that means. It's not what we think. Ein oichlen bahen ve'ein shoysen, you cannot eat or drink. And this is batik kasiyas. This is not batik midrashas like we have today. This is batik kasiyas that are miyuchet for tefillah. Ve'ein noyes them. You can't like adorn yourself. You can't get dressed. You don't fix yourself up in shul. Ve'im Italian bam. You don't walk around them. You don't do. You don't get your 10,000 steps in the shul. You can't go inside because it's too hot. You can't go in to protect yourself from rain. People don't know this is the real halacha. You cannot allow to walk into a shul if you're waiting by the bus stop in Avenue L and Avenue L and Nostrand Avenue in Flatbush. There's a shul right by the bus stop, and it's very common people go inside the shul to escape the rain. It's not pashut. And you cannot do a hesped of yachid. You could learn in them and daven in them. We're going to see what that is soon. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Emasai b'yishuv, that's when it's b'yishuv, that's when it's operational. Ava b'churbanon, manichan aisan, v'oilam behen asavim, you manichan aisan v'oilam behen asavim, you leave it and you let the grass grow, and you don't cut it, so there should be agbas nefesh. The flow doesn't make sense here. Who says anything about grass? The Bryce is missing the following words. Then I say, you clean it, and you sweep it and you sprinkle the water so that the dust settles. So the grass shouldn't grow. Rabbi Yehuda, aim aside on this last part. When do you clean it? Make sure there's no grass. That's when it's dafka. That's when it's operational. When it's out of service. And you should tackle let it go like we learned before. So that is that. Just an interesting story. I have a Rebbe who he was waiting by the bus on King's Highway, and there's a Chabad shul over there. So he walked into the shul they shouldn't get wet, but the halacha is, you're going to see later that you have to learn. So he pulled out a random sefer. It was the Chabad shul, so he pulled out Igros HaKodesh, and he pulled out, I'm going to say the whole story, but he pulled out an ant. He's a Chaim Berliner, he's not a Chabadsker at all. And he pulled out, and the Rebbe answered his exact problem, exactly what he was going through. And he told me the story. We were learning together brachas, but at that time he was like Bamish Spal. Amar Avasi, but in Kesiyah Bavel al Tanai Henasuin, the Batim Kesiyahs of Bavel are built out Tanai that we could do it, that we could have more leeway with them. But you cannot be Noy Kalas in Shul, even if you make it Tanai. This is just Cheshbainis. It's not talking about Shtusin. This is just making Cheshbainis either for the town or your personal Cheshbainis, but still, this is the behavior that's not allowed. Amar Avasi, Kahai Gavna. I'm sorry, Beis HaKnesses, Shemachashvin by Cheshbainis, if you take a over and you're someone who uses the Besmedish to make Cheshbainis, Melinin by Mace, you have to put this is at least the Havman is that Melinin by Mace, you have to put a mace mitzvah there. You have to put a mace over there. But you know, that's how far you have to put mace in there. What does that mean? Ella the Seif Sheyalinu by mace mitzvah. The end is that the curse is going to be that the people in town, there's going to be people who die without any sort of relatives, and there's going to have to be maces, and they're going to know where to put them. They have to put them in shul. I'm sorry. You cannot adorn yourself. You can't get fixed up in shul. My Beirabana. What does this mean? What does the word Beirabana mean? Base of the Rabbanan, the house of the Rabbanan. So if it's their house, they can act as if they act in their house. Rav Ad Bar Masna and Ravina were speaking and learning with Rava. Asa Zilcha Dimitra, a very heavy rain came down. Ali the Beit Knesset. They went into the shul. They said, "Haida Alina and the Beit Knesset." This we went to shul. Lav mishum mitra, not because we wanted to avoid the rains. We didn't want to get wet. El mishum the shmata ba'aya tzilusa the kiyam the astana. The sugi that we're dealing with needs a calm day like a northern wind, which brings in, I guess, the calm weather. Amalei Rav Achabre the Rav Rashi. It's the inish mikri gaba mibeit Knesset mai. What should you do if you have to call someone in? You have to go inside and call someone from shul. What do you do? I guess they didn't have cell phones then. If the guy who wants to call the other person out, in other words, the caller, if he wants to, if he's a Talmid Chacham, then Leima Hilchasa, he should say Halacha. The Itanahu, and if he knows how to repeat Mishnayos, Leima Masnisi, he should say a Mishnah. The Ikaru, if he knows how to say a pasuk, Leima Psuka, he should say Psukim. He should say a pasuk. The Ilai Leima Leinuka Ema Psukach. If he finds a kid, say, "What are you learning?" He should ask the kid what he's learning. Let him repeat something. Inami, or if your mamish can't do any of this, or there's no kids there in the shade, Purta, Venekom, like they bring down even hanging around this Spanish is something. But just to walk in and out, like that makes it very. That's a zilzal. What does that mean? What's the qualifications? Rav Chizda and Rav Sheshes were sitting there together. And this question was posed to them. So Rav Chizda made a he didn't say it out loud because he didn't want to be like Atif Chapeh. He made a simon that like if Rav Sheshes goes to that Levi, it's different ways of learning this. But if Rav Sheshes goes to that Levi, which means someone that's chashuv enough that Rav Sheshes should go, then that's considered a hesped rabbin. Machvei the Rav Sheshes is going to spade the Kabai Rav Chizda, and Rav Sheshes did it the other way. If Rav Chizda goes to the Levi, then it's something chashuv. Rafam Ashbid the Kalsei the Beit Nishta. Rafam was masped his own daughter-in-law in shul. Alma mishum yikara didi udemisa asu kule alma. Either because of my covenant, and because of the mace, people are going to come. Rav Zera Safta that whom Rabbanim Beit Knesset Amar Rav Zera was masped to someone chashav a Talmid Chacham from in the shul. Amar he said imishum yikara didi demisa. Asu kuli amal. Either whether it's my covenant or her covenant, everyone's going to come. So you see that's these are two mices where this happened. This has nothing to do with being a maspid in shul. This is once we're on the topic of eulogies. Rav Lakish was maspid the person that found he frequented Eretz Yisrael. Again, different gerses had to learn this, but he learned halacha. Either he taught halacha within to 24 rows of Talmidim, or he was one of the 24 rows of Talmidim. Amar vaychasa ar di Yisrael gav Rabba. Eretz Yisrael lost such a great guy. The Huda Havatani Hilchasa Sifra of the Sifri v'Tesefta Ushchev. This guy died. He learned halacha and Sifra and Sifri and Teseftas. Also, they wanted Rav Nachman to be massive. You should say Hasped Amar Hechim Nispede. What should I say about him? We lost his bag of books. He held it because he wasn't Mishamash Min Chachamim. He never put his Torah knowledge into practical use. He never learned how to actually deal with real life situations, and he didn't hold it this person in that way that he wanted to be masped him. So the Gemara analyzes these two stories and says the following: Come look at the haughty ones, like the Reish Lakish was considered like a little bit arrogant because he would be very careful who he spoke to, because if someone saw him talking to somebody, then they would do business with that person that he spoke to without any edim. So Reish Lakish was very careful who he spoke to. So he came across like a little bit stolzy or whatever it is. That's what the Gemara is referring to over here. Compare it to the Chassidah de Bavel. So we're showing the disparity. That the Reish Lakish was considered a little bit haughty, but he was machni himself, and he gave a hesped to this guy. And Rav Zera didn't want him. We learned a Mishnah that if somebody was mishtamish, if someone uses the crown, he platzes. So Tana Reish Lakish mishtamish b'misha shana halachas. Kisul shotari they take out of here, but he says that someone who uses the Talmid Chacham, that he expires. He should be mishtamish as somebody who learned for Siddur Mishnayos, but not somebody who taught for Siddur Mishnayos. So the two ways of learning here: either he's arguing with him that he says you are allowed to be mishtamish with somebody who learned, but just not with somebody who teaches, or he's saying that if I only have a choice and I have to use one of these two, I should use the one who only learned and didn't teach. Fine. Right there. Ki had the Reish Lakish. The story to bring out this idea. Ki had the Reish Lakish have azab orcha. He was going on the way. Amata orcham of the mai. He was crossing. He got to a body of water. Asa hu gavra. This person said, "I'll take you across on my shoulders." So come over, and he walked and took him across. Amalei, Reish Lakish is sitting on the guy's shoulders, and he asked him, "Do you know how to read? Do you know how to read Chumash?" Amalei, Karena, I know how to read Tanesa. Do you know how to read Mishnayos? He goes, "Yeah." Tanena arba siddur Mishnah. I learned 4 Seder Mishnayos. Amalei, Pesalta the arbature. You have for yourself these arbature, these 4 pillars, these four columns that you have, the 4 referring to the 4 Mishnayos. Betanas bar Lakish akaspach, and you're going to hold bar Lakish on your shoulders. Shadei bar Lakish b'maya, throw me into the water. Amalei nichali da ashminan. It's the ashminan lama. It's kedai that it's kedai for me to do it for you. So Reish Lakish says, if that's the case, Gemara mini ha milsa the Amar Rebbe the Amar Rebbe. Let me teach you some halacha. Why? Because if I teach you something, then I'm your Rebbe, and then I could be mishtamish. Then I could benefit from you in even this way if you're not makbid. The Rebbe Zera said this halacha, but I saw him hachmir al atzmon shafilu rois tipas dam kechadu yesheves alav shivas yamin shivanakiyim. They said that that again the halacha hilchas nida is we don't really practice hilchas nida today. We practice hilchas ziva today. Hilchas nida is a person who has 7 days of dam only needs to wait if they have to stop before Shkia. The day that they stop seeing dam, they can go to the mikvah, and the next day they're tar. We are makbid that if someone sees dam, they wait 7 clean days, which is what a ziva needs to do. So he said that this is Rabbi Zera's halacha. Now that he taught him this halacha, you can call him Rabbi. Now, it's just interesting to point out this is a few references in a row to 4 pillars, 4 Seder Mishnayos. They used to learn not Zram and Taharis. It wasn't Negeh to Bavel. So they used to learn Mayid, Nezikin, and Nashim, which is Negeh to Chatzlaretz, and Kachin, because if you learn Kachin, it's like you were Makriv the Karbanis. So besides, that's what they used to learn in Bavel, and Zram was only Negeh for Aretz, to all this hilchos of the Trumas and Maisus and Peah and all that stuff, Demai, all that stuff is really only Negeh for Eretz Yisrael. Now, this is interesting. The next piece of Gemara, Tana Deber Elio, Kol Hashem Alach Muftach Yeshu Ben Alam Haba, Shem Alichais, Olam Lai Atuk Alichais El Halachais. A person should learn halachas every single day, and he's Muftach Yeshu Ben Alam Haba. So they said the juxtaposition of these 2 Gemaras is that even if you're going to say that there's no point in learning Hilchas Nida because we don't practice Hilchas Nida anymore, we should just learn Hilchas Ziva. You should still learn halachas every single day. You should know the halacha. I think that's what this is the shaykhs between these 2 gemaras. You can be mevatel Torah to take out, to deal with a mace and to do mitzvah chanas kala. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Lai. They said on Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Lai, shayu mevatel tam Torah. It's a mace ula chanas kala. And they say like this, when do you have, when are you able to be mevatel Torah when you don't have enough people by the levaya? Now this is also only talking about a Talmid Chacham, because a regular simple person is enough with just 10 people, then you're not mevatel Torah anymore. But what does that mean? 12,000 men, Veshita Alfei Shipuri, and 6,000 shofars. So that's 18,000 people altogether. But Amila, Tresa Alfei Gabre, also 12,000 men. I mean, now you Shita Alfei Shipuri, but amongst them is going to be 6,000, so it's 12,000 total. Ula Amar going to Chatzich Gabre Miibula Ad Sechla. There should be like a mechitza of people. Should be a full line from the town until the basic virus. Just like it was given, just like when it was given, 600,000 people. It should also be with 600,000 people. Somebody who teaches, there's no share. Wherever they even went, wherever they were, Hakadosh Baruch was with us. Was I not megala myself to you in Mitzrayim? The Shechina was with us. And I was with you. Because of you, I got sent to Bava. And even when they were being even we're going to be us in the God, we're going to hear a mamish. I didn't say I'm going to return you. It said I'm going to return with you. From Galus, Hakadosh Baruch Hu is going to come with us to Eretz Yisrael. Bavel Heicha, where is Hakadosh Baruch Hu in Bavel? Where is he with us now? Amar Abai B'Beit Knishta the Hutzal B'Beit Knishta the Shaf B'Seib Ben Harda. And these two Batim Midrashim of in Harda, or the Hutzal in Harda, and the Shav Seib, it was destroyed. It was built from the bricks of the from the Harabais. Fine. The Gemara doesn't like this idea of saying that Hashem's in two places at once, even though Malay Eretz Kavayda, Hakadosh Baruch Hu is everywhere. It's a Beferish Uncle Moshe song, but this idea that Hashem's in one place, Ikra at a time, that's what the Gemara feels more comfortable saying. So it shouldn't look like Hashem is Shtei V'Shuyos. So again, even though Hashem is everywhere literally, but there's a certain manifestation of His Shechina, whatever that means, in one place more than the other. Amar Abai Teisili. I'm going to get Schar and Haba. The Mechak Parsa Alayah Mitzalena Hasa. When I went to one of these two shuls, when I was within a parsa, I went to go down there. Abu Deshmuel Velevi Havayasu B'Shchinta the B'Knishta the Shaf V'Seib Ben Arda. They were in the shul in Arda. As the Shechina came in. Shema Kol Rikshli, there was a balagan. Kama v'nafka, they got up and they ran out. Rav Sheshes Havayaseh B'Beit Knishta. Rav Sheshes was also in the Shav Yaseh Ben Arda. As the Shechina came in. V'lo nafka, he didn't move. Rav Sheshes was blind. As the Malachi Ashari, the Malachim came, B'Kol Mevatele, and they were shepherding him. They started bothering him. He said, Rav Sheshes said as follows: Baruch Shalom, Olav She'ena Olav, meaning somebody who is in a bad situation, somebody who's not in a bad situation, who should defer to who? Amar lahu shivku, Hakadosh Baruch Hu said to them, leave him alone. Okay. When it says I'm going to be for you a small mikdash, it means the Batim Midrash in Bava. It doesn't mean Bava only, it means everywhere in Chutz. Just Bava was where they were at the time. This is Rav's house in Bava. You're going to be our dwelling place. Elu bate knesiyos bate midrashes. Amar Abaya Meresh have a grace number base I used to learn in my house and then daven in shul. Now that I understood what I had this new pshat what David HaMelech said in Tehillim, Hashem midrasha. Hashem, I have to ma'ayin beisacha. have a grace and have a big knishter. So I went to shul to learn also. Tiny talking right there. Rabbi Lazar, I see them, but what you can see is about the Joshua Shabbavel Sheyikvo Eretz Yisrael. They're going to be set up. They're going to be kaveh in Eretz Yisrael. Shenema the ki savaya b'harim l'karmel b'yam yavai. Fine. The pasuk of this says talking about Mitzrayim falling to Nebuchadnezzar in war. It says if the mountains were uprooted across the ocean to go to Eretz Yisrael, of course Mitzrayim is going to lose to Nebuchadnezzar. So these two mountains, Tavar and Carmel, were originally not in Eretz Yisrael. Now they're in Eretz Yisrael. They came to be mishtatif in. They came to be to get involved with not Kriyas Torah, Matan Torah. Just like these two mountains, they only came for whatever was a small amount of time just during Matan Torah to learn Torah, but still they're set up in Eretz Yisrael. What you can see is about the Midrash is of course, shuls all over the world that were set up for Torah and Tefillah and learning and all that stuff, shiurim, of course they're going to come to Eretz Yisrael. Why are you dancing, you exalted mountains, you high mountains? Why are you being Teveya in Sinai? Why are you shopping Sinai to a Dintaya? You're all Bali Mumen. And you don't deserve to have the Torah on you. Where do you see that the Bali Mumen? Right, this pasuk said Haram Gamnunim Ksiv Hasam. When it talks about the psulim, the psulim for Kain and for Kain for Avodah, it says Aigibin Aidak, if he has long eyelashes, or Dak, I forgot the other one. Aigibin Aidak, either long eyelashes or there's the other one that he's talking about. Okay, I forgot what it is, but those are two moments. So Giben is lashon tzamum. Amar Rashi Shnami no Hayman here. So we see from here it's someone who's very haughty. It's considered a mum in his personality. I don't know if it's nigeh the halacha if you can't duchen if you're a shich bagaiva, but it's not something to be. It's something to work on. Ein oisin oisai kapandria. But my kapandria. What is this kapandria we keep talking about? Amar Rava kapandria kishmal, exactly like it sounds. But my kishmal, what does that mean? Command Amar. It's a abbreviation. It's a contraction between two words. Adam akifna adari eol baha. So it's a lashon of these two words, the first word and the last word. I'm going to just go over here. Why should I go around? I'll just go through here. Amalei abo im hayushvil meikara mutter. He said that if, like I said before, if the path is there from before the shul, then it is mutter. If a person went in for legitimate purposes, he went into daven mincha, then you're allowed to go out the shorter ways. If you come in from one side and it's faster to go out the other side, to do lechatchila, you can't do it. But if you go in for that to daven mincha legitimately, then you can go out the other way. Then you could do the same thing. When you come to Hashem when you're being Oile Regel, and if you're going from the northern gate, and you do your Hishtachavois over the Yetziderech Shar Negev, you can go to the southern, you can come out through the southern gate, and it's not a problem. All the boy southern Yitlish, B'fnei Agmas Nefesh, but tomorrow Vatani Einai Tarlish Shemaichel Avo Tarlish Shemaniach. You cannot be Tarlish and feed your animals, but you could leave it there. And the Gemara, Kitnan Nami Masnisan Tarlish Shemaichel Tanan. That's what the Mishnah means. You can't be Tarla and Tarlish and feed your animals. You could Tarlish and leave it there. It still creates this Agmas Nefesh vibe. Also, you cannot act in the way of Kalas Reish. You cannot graze animals there. You can't put water through there. You can't run irrigation pipes through there, and that's separate. That's not a covet issue. That might ruin that might make the place all muddy and ruin the bones. And you cannot then you cannot cut the grass there for personal use. In likate sarfan b'mekayman, you have to burn them and you have to burn them in place. Mifnei covered mason for the covenant of the mason. In fact, the Gemara, hey, what's that last line going on? If you're going to say that it's covered a mace to burn the grass, the makom kiva should start from makom. My covered mace mikvah. What's the covered mace to burn grass where it is? And the Gemara ella aresha. It must be that it's going on the resha. Okay, shkayach everybody. The next Gemara is going to deal with the whole schedule of the Dalet Parshas, so that's going to be fun. We'll do this tomorrow night. Time to be announced.